Hello out there. This is Howler Mouse, 47-year collector of comics, working on my 15th year of YouTube, and I'm here to show you some recommended reading if you are digging the James Gunn Superman trailer that's out and the Creature Commandos show on HBO, because I am digging it. One or two little things that I don't agree with, but we're seeing where the story goes, and otherwise it's been a lot of fun. Specifically with the Creatures Commandos show. It's one character I really hope they do something a bit more with. But anyway, I'm going to say, before I jump in here to show you a lot of comics, so hopefully this will help, I will say that they released, at the time of this recording, the Superman more or less teaser trailer. I don't think it's the official trailer, and he has sprinkled all sorts of characters in there. Now, of all the characters that are in that trailer, Guy Gardner with the bowl cut, I never thought I'd see something more decisive that will let you know who's a movie fan and who's a comic book fan. So, I've seen all sorts of things online that I'm like, I never thought I'd see a day that Guy Gardner, Green Lantern, would be the topic of conversation. So we'll show some stuff to read about that, right? And one more real quick thing, because we're going to just move along in this. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you thumb up and make sure you hit the bell, because I do live shows usually on Sundays. And I'm probably going to do an extended show on everything that I'm showing here, right? We're just going to kind of fly through there. Now, what's really cool about this is that I have two videos I'm going to put down in the description. One is from 10 years ago about Guardians of the Galaxy, James Gunn's first movie at Marvel, with the Marvel movies and stuff. And people seem to tend to forget, unless they were like there, that a lot of people were like, this may be Marvel's first flop, because no one knew those characters. I have it. I have a video that I'm going to send the link to where I tell you beforehand it's going to be a hit. The other one is that I'm going to show some Giffen, the Mantis Justice League stuff that started in, I think, '87. I got a video there where it's a nostalgic kind of video where we walk through there, because you'll see some of those books. I recommend those two videos and stuff just for fun. Subscribe, thumbs up, hit the bell, and we're going to move on, right? So the no-brainers, I'm going to show you the no-brainers just because James Gunn has shown these on his Twitter. And then he's also flat out just said these were the books, and they're two award-winning books. And they need to be read anyway, right? First one is All-Star Superman. This is the one that he read for the tone and things. He showed himself sitting there with this book right open before him, and I think a lot of people thought he was going to do the adaptation of this for the movies when he was playing around on Twitter doing that. The thing about James Gunn, if you'll notice, is that he'll take the characters, and it's really odd. Either he really gets to the core of the character and stays faithful to that. But when it comes to the comic book stories and stuff, he does original stuff, and he'll make changes as needed, but he's never really taken liberties. So I highly recommend that one, because this is actually a 3-time, that was good, I saved the books. This is a 3-time Eisner Award winner, 12-issue maxi series by Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely, where he just went back and went to what the core of what Superman was. That's the geeky Clark Kent. I'm also going to recommend reading Superman in Action Comics number 775 from, I think, 2001. This is just a fantastic story, because he has announced there will be an Authority movie, and this was a book where we had an Authority-like team come up, the Elite come up, and we got to see Superman be Superman. What's wrong with Truth, Justice, and Liberty anyway? Because we were in the midst of superheroes not very acting like superheroes. They were being proactive instead of reactive and taking liberties and things, right? So I always recommend this. This is a classic issue. People absolutely love it. Those are the no-brainers, guys. And one more no-brainer, because James Gunn did say he followed this with his Superman. But when it comes to the All-American Boy, a little bit of Americana, going from Kansas to Metropolis, becoming, teenage Superman into this Superman, teenage Superman. growing up, things like that, right? We go with All-Star Superman. This is just a very touching story. The late, great Tim Sale did the artwork. Jeff Loeb wrote it, and it's got some extra features and stuff that they did in here with this particular trade. This was a 4-issue prestige series. Highly recommend that. I'm pretty sure it won some awards. Okay, so we're going to go keep on with what's out now, right? Like I said, we're moving right along, right? So there's nothing wrong if you are into back issues, if you're into looking on eBay and looking around for first appearances and early issues. Cool, that's your thing. But a lot of people are going after the weird war tales of the creature commandos, and that's fine. We got GI robot appearances. These take place in World War II. This was started in 1980 as a feature in this book, and that's fine. But these are not the characters that are in the cartoon. This is great reading. This is fun reading. No problem with going with these. These are actually from the stepdad and or uncle's collection. Probably more the uncle because he collected the war comics more, right? But I would actually kind of steer towards this series of Creature Commandos by Tim Truman. Started up. It didn't really last long, but it's from 2000, and this is the #1. This is a little bit more in tone and up to date with what they're doing in the cartoon. Again, James Gunn does his original stories, but you can kind of wipe your hand on it and get the smell of it if you're into that, right? Another thing I would also recommend, there's actually 2 series with this one, but I didn't want to dig out the other one because it's not really that big of a deal. But you may want to go back to 2006 and get the Grant Morrison, Doug Mank 4-issue series that tied into the 7 Soldiers of Victory maxi story that Grant Morrison did of Frankenstein. I think he's called Eric Frankenstein. This is the character that I'm not happy with what James Gunn has done in the Creature Commandos story, but we'll see where it goes. If you're into the Bride, this is the first appearance of the Bride, Frankenstein #3. Like I said, it will have the banner of 7 Soldiers of Victory because during the DC 52 of, what was that, 2010, 2011, we had a book called Frankenstein Agent of Shade come out that all these characters continued in, if you will, right? And it was a fun series. I think I have the first 8. It didn't really last that long. But what you're going to find out is that the Bride has 4 arms in the comics compared to her 2. Maybe we'll end up seeing that up there, right? So there you go. That's recommended reading right there, folks. Moving right along here, right? So let's just go ahead and get this out of the way. Krypto. In the teaser trailer, I still feel like it's a teaser trailer. I don't think it's an actual trailer. I think that's yet to come. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But Krypto, another divisive character that has popped up on the big screen. I am overjoyed because there are things in this world of those 47 years of reading comics of things I would never thought I would see on the big screen. Krypto has appeared in the Teen Titans TV show that's on Max. He's had his own cartoon, so to say, right? So, is there a definitive, absolute Krypto story? I don't think so. But Krypto's a cool, fun little character, right? So he had his own little cartoon show. I think this was a 4 to 6 issue miniseries based on the Cartoon Network show from closer to 20 years than anything, getting there, right? That's the first issue. That's fun to get into. It has Ace the Bat Hound. It's fun. But for me, there are two books that are just flat out straight, right? Krypto's had many takes on him. Jeff Loeb and McGinnis had a take on him in the 170s of the Superman book, if I remember right. He's popped up here and there. And if you've been on eBay, this book in particular has been going for up to $100, and it only books for $3 officially. But I've seen one book for a sale on eBay for, I think it was either $102 or $120. I've taken screenshots on my phone, and it just blows me away. But this Alex Ross cover of Superman 680. Okay, there were several volumes of Superman until they all merged back to the original numbering for you guys, right? So in particular, I would recommend the story where James Robinson started writing the Superman book with 675. He brings in a character called Atlas, a Jack Kirby creation, okay? I'm not going to get in the history of it, or maybe I'll do that in the live show. 678, 677. These are all great Alex Ross covers. 679, leading up to Krypto showing up because he's a good boy. All right. So that's just fantastic. So there we go. Superman, at least issue 680 on back if you're really into it. And like I said, this book is hot on eBay right now. Blows my mind. I put it on Instagram the day I saw that trailer from my copy here. Had no idea there was going to be an explosion of Krypto. And of course, there's the zealots of there's people who enjoy the Snyderverse movies that came out. I have them all. It's a mixed bag. There's moments I love. There's movies I want to keep. I enjoyed them, but that time has passed, and we're moving forward. And I have seen so much divisiveness of people still being loyal to Snyder, and that's nothing wrong, right? And I found one more here for Krypto. It's the last Superman story from the 80s, the man, whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow. And I highly recommend getting this two-part story. Number one, because it's written by Alan Moore. Number two, it's the imaginary pretend story of the end of the Silver Age Superman. What happened to him? It brings in Bizarro, the Legion. There's a war at the Fortress of Solitude, a Superman protecting everyone. And Krypto is a good boy. Now, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, if Old Yeller is a movie that you have seen, you may not be able to handle this. There might be a page or two there that you just may not be able to handle. It goes by quick, though. It goes by quick. So that's my recommended reading. Okay. There's also, since I have this out, there's a Booster Gold show that's announced. I am infamous on this channel for having a hatred for this character, Booster Gold. But there he is, right? All I can say is when it comes to Booster Gold, he has infiltrated everything that I love in comics. It's like they know. They come after me. He has infiltrated. He's actually Rip Hunter, Commandy, the Legion of Superheroes, my Justice League. He's ended up infesting them all. So all I can say is that Booster Gold is Booster Gold.Maybe the Jeff Johns run from about 10 years ago may be the way to go. Then we get into a character that I just cannot believe has taken off and has all sorts of people talking. And he actually, and it's going to go, and it's all going to kind of tie together. This is what's called recommended reading, right? But it is the great Guy Gardner, and we're getting the Guy Gardner of the 80s with the Mo bowl cut, right? Guy Gardner returned out of, he was in a coma. He was in a coma. For you guys that don't know, the Ring, when Abin Sur, in the origin of Green Lantern, when Abin Sur crashed on Earth and he asked his Ring to find someone who was suitable to take the mantle of Green Lantern, to take his ring. Before we knew there was a Corps, the Ring picked Hal Jordan and Guy Gardner, but Hal Jordan was closer, thus Guy did not get it. Guy ended up in a coma, okay, and then I think it was in '68. It was his first appearance. But anyway, 1968, I think. So anyway, in 1985, we have Crisis on Infinite Earth coming. He is selected by the Guardians to become the new Green Lantern of Earth, or a Green Lantern, if you will. And he returns, and that carries over into Green Lantern. So with what I'm seeing in the teaser trailer, I'm wondering, he's popped up with the traditional bowl cut that he has not had for over 20 years. And when I look at the trailer and we see that smirk on Nathan Fillion's face, I'm like, it's Guy from the 80s. It's him. It's the jerk Guy Gardner, right? But the bowl cut looks sort of odd. Like it's not even all the way around. So I'm wondering if we are getting the bowl cut Guy Gardner, or if there's been something happened to where Guy Gardner has a slick back haircut and it's all messed up. I don't know, but we'll see. But I recommend Green Lantern 196, 194 leading up to it, a Crisis crossover, 195 where a guy has entered the book, 197, which I apparently did not pull out, and 198. These are all Crisis crossovers, and this is our introduction to a brain-damaged coma. He comes out pretty healthy out of that coma also. No muscle fatigue, apparently. Probably the ring and stuff. Leading up to 200. This is the era that I recommend reading Guy Gardner, right? Like I said, as I said before, James Gunn does not really stick to the stories. He might take, I don't know. Anyway, but based on his movies that we can see, he does original stuff. He'll go any way he needs to, right? Green Lantern Corps number 207 is another one I recommend because that ties into after Crisis on Infinite Earths, we had a series called Legends, which Guy Gardner is front and center in, with the Fourth World coming at us. There's Guy, drawn by the great John Byrne, Lean Ween writing, John Ostrander also plotting. This is the first appearance of the Suicide Squad. Not the original from the 60s, but the one that, really kind of influenced James Gunn. Seems like I had another book to show that I would recommend. Because James Gunn said when he did his The Suicide Squad movie, he had this crossover, Doom Patrol, one-shot crossover, Doom Patrol and Suicide Squad, kind of giving him the flavor of his The Suicide Squad. So apparently this book, this series influenced him a bit. We see when James Gunn was probably really digging his comics. So this book, with Guy up front, an interesting tidbit is Guy Gardner ends up taking on and easily beating a character based on Jim Shooter in his Star brand. In this, Jim Shooter was editor-in-chief of Marvel Comics at the time. Anyway, and some of the people working on the book had some harsh feelings towards him. Anyway, but that leads to Justice League by Diamantes. Probably butchering his name right now. I'm not going to re-record this because of that. And Keith Giffen, Kevin Maguire, Terry Austin, and we get 60 issues, 5 years of fantastic, humorous stories where I feel like this is where we are getting a lot of James Gunn pulling his influence from. All right, because it's lighthearted. This was when it was all grim and gritty, and X-Men and mutants were hated, and Dark Knight Returns and Watchmen. Everybody had feet of clay, and it was real, and Daredevil and everything like that. Daredevil's girlfriend turned into an adult star because she was hooked on heroin and things like that. And then we get this book by Giffen that's hilarious and stuff, right? So this is the Keith Giffen I recommend getting. Specifically, maybe issue 1, issue 5, issue 17 or 18 and 19 here, where Lobo pops up. I have books recommend for Lobo because I feel he is coming. And then if you're a big fan of Taxi Driver, Guy Gardner really had a thing for a character named Ice. And he finally gets her to go out on a date with him. And when he goes, he pulls a Taxi Driver moment and goes to an adult movie with her, right? And if you want a book that I really feel like is influencing James Gunn, I believe, from just what I've seen of his other movies, things like Justice League Antarctica. This is a Justice League Annual number 4 called Antarctica. This is hilarious. I'm going to have to do a separate video just on this book alone. Keith Giffen told me personally that is one of the 3 books with the epitome of what they were trying to do with Justice League back then. Another great story, we see a different side of Guy Gardner and find out that he has heroes also. There's return of a character called General Glory in the comic book universe here. These are actually his first appearances. You see a different kind of guy here, man. It's issue 46 all the way up to 50. So it's kind of a take on Captain America, if you will, right? So yeah, anything with this Justice League show, right? So that's going to lead into Metamorpho. Like, all this stuff is tied in. What is going on? Is my camera? Oh, there we go. Right? So this is the classic image. This is when everybody was finally talking about Guy Gardner because Batman knocked him out with one punch. This is issue number 5. Highly recommend it. But this is also going to lead into Metamorpho, right? Because this is Justice League Europe number 11. Metamorpho he's been around since the 60s. I don't know what was going on with the 60s, but the periodic table appeared to be very popular. And we got things like the Metal Man, Mr. Element, Dr. Alchemy, and Ramona Frandon came in and helped create, if not created, Metamorpho. He had his own book. He was in the Batman and the Outsiders, DC Comics Presents with Superman. He was in World's Finest. There's all sorts of places you can find him, and a lot of times he's the background character, right? And I'm kind of really wondering what they're going to pull from the comics, but I'm going to go ahead and recommend this one because it's a very emotional story that you don't really get to see with Rex Mason. Rex Mason is a tragic hero. Now, we'll get into that in a minute. But anyway, this is Justice League Europe number 11 and 12. It's a two-part story where Metamorpho has a baby, like father, like son, and it's very emotional. It's very emotional. It's a very emotional story. Now, before we get into and if you want to know the origin of Metamorpho and see it, I recommend Batman the Outsiders because that's a freaking cool cover with the hieroglyphics. But we're looking at issues 17 and 18 of Batman and the Outsiders. Okay, a lot of these characters have ties to Egypt, which blows my mind when it comes to the Justice League and stuff, right? So now we're going to tie this together with two other Metamorpho with another character. That's Mr. Terrific. I have recommended reading for that. But just because of the way I have them stacked, before I get back into other things you should be reading, you might want to pick up the Terrifics series. I think this came out. This was an answer to the Fantastic Four. And we have Mr. Terrific, Metamorpho, Plastic Man, and Phantom Girl. And I'm not going to get too much into this, but due to a company crossover event, I believe it was called DC Metal, all these characters have to stay within a mile of each other, I believe, or they'll pass away. And guys, if I was ever going to speculate on anything, James Gunn actually did a random tweet of just a 2-page spread, I think, of the Terrifics with all these other characters in there from the DC universe. But if I was ever going to speculate of a surprise character popping up at some point, Plastic Man would be a really fun James Gunn character. And with the Fantastic Four movie coming out next year, with Reed Richards having the ability to stretch, that would be something to see Plastic Man come out. Okay, so, and guys, Plastic Man came first. So here's Terrifics number 1. You can get the whole series, but I think I recommend maybe the first 14 issues. Okay, so some of this is fun. Some of it, it is what it is. I have the first 14 issues. I actually almost got rid of these until the very day that I saw James Gunn tweet that. Okay, so that's going to lead us to some more Mr. Terrific stuff. We're actually about done, guys. This is the last stack. We've covered a lot of books here, and we're going to keep moving. Again, thumb it up, subscribe, hit that bell so get notifications. But the biggest thing is that Mr. Terrific, I cannot get over the fact that this is a character from the 90s that popped up in an issue of the Spectre. And he's had a timeless costume. That's what blows my mind. But all these characters kind of tie together. Mr. Terrific, Metamorpho through the Terrifics, and then you had Hot Girl, Mr. Terrific in there. So we're going to kind of mix them up here a little bit. So for some Mr. Terrific, I recommend the JSA series that started in 1999. And then after it ended, it came back as the Justice Society. So there's 2 volumes there in the 2000s. But I highly recommend issues 41, 42, because he meets the original Mr. Terrific. We'll get into that in just a second. And 43, because they end up in ancient Egypt, and we get to see the metamorphi of ancient times. You find out there's more to Metamorpho than just being transformed. Oh, I'm sorry. In issue 44, it continues the story. How do they get to come back? And let me make sure I separate these two, because the recommended reading I have is maybe 1 or 2 more issues here. Hopefully I'll pull that out. But before they started that JSA book in 1999, they came out with a series of one-shots, bookends with All Stars Comics, and we got reintroduced to the Golden Age characters 2 at a time, their legacy. And the one that I really feel, all of these issues I would recommend. Thrilling comics, sensational comics. That's not our Kendra. That's Hot Girl we'll talk about in a minute. But there's a fantastic story by Mark Waid in this National Comics that introduces you to Mr. Terrific and what it means to be the smartest man in the world. Mr. Terrific is the current Mr. Terrific is the 3rd smartest man in the world right now. With some great stuff there, right? Make sure we get all this straight. Yeah, I thought I pulled out a JSA book, and it'll probably pop up after we're done here. And we'll move on because we're about done. Then we have Hawk Girl. Hawk Girl that we have here is not Shara Hawk Girl. Oh, here's the number 1 of the GSA book that Hawk Girl is in. But again, GSA, what you need is, if you want to get this, is Secret Files, GSA Files and Origins number 1. Because this is the first appearance of who I believe the Hawk Girl is in the James Gunn movie. We play around with the whole idea of an Egyptian curse that causes Hawkman and Hawk Girl to be, oh my goodness, what's the word I'm looking for? Not resurrected. Oh, I can't believe I'm going blank on the name, and I'm not going to reshoot and edit this thing. But anyway, they keep coming back to life. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm thinking that name. That word I'm trying to describe where they come back. But in this one, reincarnated. Good grief. They become reincarnated. And what's great about this issue is when Kendra pops up, this is Kendra here, she does not have the memories or the feelings towards Carter Hall Hawkman. So when Hawkman returns, Kendra has her own life and she's her own person. And it's, defying a destiny and things. So I recommend that. And like I said, with Kendra, oh, here we go. I recommend also, there's a fantastic Mr. Terrific book. Just by the cover, if Mr. Terrific takes off in the movies, that may be the way to go. But I recommend the JLA, JSA Secret Files as well, because Kendra is in there. JSA 20. The whole JSA series is what I would really recommend, with the fact that it's just a great book. There's number 1, with great characters. And it is character driven with a very huge cast. So as you go through there'll be a moment here for Hawk Girl. There'll be a moment here for Mr. Terrific. Very few central stories, right? Until issue 22, where Hawkman returns. And this is where things really get juicy with Kendra and Carter Hall. Because he's in love with her and he knows she'll come back, but she's no. And it's not as melodramatic as it sounds. And that would lead into, I want to say 25 issues, about the first 25 issues of a Hawkman series that started in 2002, where Kendra Hall and Hawkman have come to an arrangement to work together because of that destiny and the curse that they have together. So yeah, that's my recommended reading, guys. Everything from All-Star Superman to a Krypton story, Mr. Terrific, Hawk Girl, Carter Hall. Read your comics, grab some of the stuff, try to get it on the cheap, and thanks for sticking around with me, guys. All right? Hopefully the movie will be good. If you made it all the way through here, let me know what you know in the comments. Subscribe, like, sub, all the other things. They used to say smash them buttons. But yeah, have a great day, guys.